Hi everyone, welcome back to the Crafty Author. My name is Anissa. I am the Crafty Author and welcome to my quilting room. Today we are going to be making a very highly requested item. I get requests for this all the time. I get questions asked all the time about this, and so today I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it and I'm going to show you how we do it and how easy and awesome it is. So this will probably be a two-part series. Well, not two-part, but it'll be filmed over 2 days. That's what I'm trying to say. Just because it takes time to do. And then also I have to wash and dry. So what we're going to make is a rag quilt, another rag quilt. This time though, we're going to be using cotton and flannel mix. I am going to be using an AccuQuilt. I have the AccuQuilt Go electric cutter, and I highly recommend it. I love it. There is a rag quilt die that does this all for me, so I do not have to snip all the rag. I don't have to do all the ragging myself with the snips, which is great. I'm going to show you how that works. If you are interested in purchasing that die and this AccuQuilt Go big electric cutter, the links are down below in the description box to AccuQuilt. If you make a purchase through that link, I do make a very small commission as I am an affiliate with AccuQuilt. I love their products. I personally use their products and I pay for my own items that I purchase from them. So I just want to give you that disclaimer, okay? But I highly recommend them. I just can't even imagine making quilts without one anymore. You can cut them so fast. So here's what you'll need. So to make the front part of the quilt, the rag quilt, you are going to need 18 squares. Now this is at 8.5 inches. Each square is 8.5 inches. You're going to need 18 squares of your main fabric. And for this tutorial, we are going to be using this adorable little Dumbo fabric that I purchased. I love Dumbo. I love elephants. Elephants are my favorite. You can get this at fatquartershop.com. That's where I got this fabric from. Also, I'm going to be using some flannel star fabric that I have. I purchased it at Joann's. It's blue. It's got little stars. You'll see it as we get going. You're going to need 17 of those. So 35 total for the front. For the back, you're going to need 35 backing squares, and I'm just going to stay consistent, and I'm going to use the flannel for that. The same flannel that I'm going to be using on the front, okay? I will be putting this quilt up for sale in the Etsy shop when it is complete, and you can either use batting in between, or you don't have to. For this particular quilt, I will be using batting, and we are going to get started right now after I tell you how much fabric you need. You're going to need 1.5 yards for the main fabric. So the Dumbo fabric, I'm using 1.5 yards. I am going to use 1.5 yards for the front, for the flannel squares, and then for the backing squares, I'm going to use 2.5 yards for that. So for the back and the front of the quilt for the flannel, you would need a total of, I would say, 4 yards. Okay, so was that right? Yes, that's right, 4 yards. So we're going to get started now, and I'm going to start cutting. Okay, so first things first, I've already cut this into 1.5 yards, and then I laid my ruler out and I marked 9 inches. So this is a 9-inch strip, and I'm just going to take it over to my cutting die, and I'm going to layer it on top. Okay, my beautiful friends, I'm going to show you what this does. So this is a piece that I've already cut, and as you can see, it's already cut the little fringes for me. So I don't have to worry about that now. All I'm gonna have to do is sew them. How I do this, what's so awesome about the AccuQuilt is that you can cut multiple layers at one time. So the cutting goes very quickly. So this is the die, okay? It's an 8.5 inch rag square die. You wanna be very careful with them. They're very sharp. Those blades are sharp. I got my 9-inch piece of fabric, 9-inch by 45 inches, I think is what it is. And so I have folded that in half, and I am just going to lay this on top of my die, like so. Okay, I want to make sure that all the things are covered, all the blades are covered here. So there's that. So I'm going to lay that part on top too, and then I'm going to take this folded piece and I'm going to fold that over as well. So now I have 8 layers here. Now, it's not recommended that you cut 8 layers at one time. It's recommended to do 2. You can do 6. I like to push the envelope a little bit when I'm working with cotton. I'm going to cut 8. So that's just me. That's not their recommendation. So we're going to put a cover on top, and you can see this is really bad. This is from when I cut the last rag quilt for my grandson for Christmas with all that fleece. That's what it did to my mat. But my mat's still good. So, all right, so now we're gonna go over to the AccuQuilt and I'm gonna show you how this works. Okay, so here's my AccuQuilt and we are ready to get started. I've already turned it on and I'm just going to push it through. And it goes through all on its own. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give this another pass through just because I'm cutting a lot of layers. 8 to be exact. I just want to show you how quick this goes. And that's it. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. So there's a lot of static buildup when you're pushing your fabric through the cutter. So I just rub it down. And then I take and I twist just a little bit. And I pull it off, pull my mat off, and we have a perfectly cut square. And look at that, very little waste. And we are ready now to start putting our rag quilt together. So this cut 8 of them. 8 of them in what? A matter of seconds, right? You really can't beat this, guys. It's an amazing thing. I love it. And this is how I make all of my rag quilts now. And I just wouldn't do it any other way. Now, when I'm working with the flannel, I don't cut as many pieces at once, just because it's a thicker material. Okay, so I've got everything cut. It's taken me probably about, I would say 15 minutes to cut the entire rag quilt out, just because I've done a second pass on the flannel because it's a little thicker, and I cut 4 layers at a time. So not too bad, right? 15 minutes is nothing. So I've got our main fabric cut out. This is the cotton fabric. This right here is going to be the fabric that goes on my front with the little elephant guy. See? And then this is my backing. So these are my backing squares, and as you can see how cute they are with the little elephants, with the Dumbos. I tried to do it with this one, but I ran out of fabric. I didn't have enough of the blue. So it happens. So you want to make sure when you're making a rag quilt, I know I gave you the measurements for fabric, but honestly, you want to have more than you need. Because if you cut one wonky, or I don't know, you have a mistake somewhere, you want to have a little bit of extra to where you can buffer. I always buy extra fabric. This, I had almost enough, but not quite. So, because I wanted to do that front and back. So that's why it's important to buy a lot of extra fabric in this case. So, so next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some batting. And I like to cut my batting squares a little bit smaller than these. I forgot to mention, I need 35 of these cotton batting squares. All right, so 35 of these bad boys have been cut. That's 35 squares. This took me a total of probably, I don't know, 10 minutes to cut all these. Honestly, I hate cutting batting because it's so thick. But it's kind of a necessary thing to do for this. So, okay. So I have gone ahead and I have quilted my first one. And I also want to mention here that I had the 7.5 by 7.5 inch square, and it was too big. So I cut it down to 6 inches, and that's the perfect size. So this is the size of my squares now, 6 by 6. So just make sure that that's correct. And if you cut them too big, then you're going to have to cut them down. All right, so here we go. Here's my first one that's quilted. And just quilted the X. All right, turned out so cute, right? And I got my sewing machine back, so I'm really excited, and it is sewing so beautifully. So I'm going to do a thing called chain stitching, which is where I take all of these and some backings, and I'm going to stitch all of these all at once. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I do that, and also so you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm going to take one of my main pieces, which is my Dumbo piece, and I am going to put that face down, and then I'm going to take a piece of batting and I'm going to stick it right in the middle. Just as long as you're not into any of the fringe, you're fine. I'm going to take a backing piece and I'm going to lay that up on top. And then I'm going to match my corners. And you can clip these if you want to. I do sometimes. Right now, this one is lining up very well, so I don't really need to. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start stitching here. I am going to use a lead just because that helps to keep everything from getting all nested and all of that. So I'm just going to put that down there. And then I'm going to just start. So I'm going to sew in a diagonal straight line here from corner to corner. Okay, and then I'm going to grab another one of my main pieces, face side down, put a piece of batting in here. Grab another backing piece, and I'm just going to match my corners up. Give it kind of a shake. And that helps it line up, and then I'm going to just stitch again, corner to corner. So this is called chain piecing. This goes very quickly. This helps you to complete a project pretty fast. You get your system going and you're good to go. You could also sandwich these before you start. I don't mind doing it as I go. So it's a preference. If you want to do it that way, then you, by all means, you can do it that way, but you can hear my Roomba upstairs. I do apologize for that. I don't know why my husband decided to run that while I'm doing a video, but that's what you're hearing. So can't complain when they want to vacuum, right? Okay, so I'll just cut this one off right here for now, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm going to trim off my lead. I'm going to put my lead back down because I'm going to use it again, because I am going to trim these threads in between what we just did without trying to cut the fringe. And I'm going to flip them over now so that I have the elephant side facing up, and I am going to sew. So you're just sewing an X, which is what's quilting this. You could use a decorative stitch if you wanted to do this. It would take it longer, but it would look really, really cute. I always do a decorative stitch around the binding part of this when it's finished. I use a squiggly line. I just think it gives it a little bit of character. Makes it cute. So, or you can stick with a straight line. That's fine too. But now, oh, the stitching on here is gorgeous. Oh, I'm so happy. My stitches were not working out real well before I got this serviced. But anyway, so now you can see how cute that is. So now we've got some pieces that are already done. So that's how you do it. Now, you're going to do the same thing with your backing fabric. So we'll do one like that real quick. So again, I'm going to just stick my lead down here because it just helps us to keep everything nice and straight. Now here is one of my, oh, come on, whatever it is that I'm trying to say. All right, so here is the next piece that goes, that's going to go side by side with our little elephant like this in our quilt. Okay. So what I'm going to do there is the same exact thing that I just did. I'm going to put that face down, and you can do it whichever way you want. I'm just doing it face down this way because of the way I have my fabrics laid out here. So no right or wrong way to do this. Just make sure that you have your wrong sides facing each other when you go to stitch this down. So you should have both nice sides facing up. Otherwise you'll be seam ripping and you will not be happy. Unless you like to seam rip, and then in that case you might be. I don't know. I haven't met anybody who enjoys that yet, so. I'm certainly not one of those people. So from corner to corner. I'm just going to cut the threads for right now. And I'm just going to flip it around, and I'm going to just do the same thing that I did before. And there you go. So that's how you do that one too. Okay, we are ready to start assembling our rag quilt. So I have gone and I've quilted all of the pieces, all my squares with an X. I'm using the same fabric on the back. So the only thing that's going to be different is the front. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take one of my little Dumbo pieces and one of my little gray pieces, and I'm going to put them wrong sides facing each other. So you should have the right side facing up on both sides. And then all I'm going to do is come over and sew about 1/2 inch right down along that line. Now I don't want to sew the fringe. I want the fringe to be loose, so that's why I'm going to sew 1/2 inch. And I'm going to make sure that all my fringe is looking good, because your fringe can actually get sewn down if it's not up. So, and that's if you're using an AccuQuilt to cut the fringe. if you're going to cut afterwards, then you don't need to worry about this part of it. So I am using a walking foot, and I'm also using a lead so I don't get a ton of, whatchamacallit, nesting. And I'm just going to go from edge to edge here, and then I'm going to cut my threads, and I'll show you what we have. I'm going to cut my lead off. Voila. So now you have your one piece, and you've already got your fringe already done. Okay? I'm going to show you that one more time, and then I am going to finish doing all the rows, creating all the rows, and then I will show you how we attach them. Pretty easy, actually. So I'm going to do the same thing, just adding it to this piece. So however your design is what you want to do. But so I'm just going to put these together, wrong sides together again, and I'm going to sew 1/2 inch. I want to make sure my corners are matching up. So take your time. There's no rush with this. I need to make sure though that I have, okay. Again, I'm just going to cut the lead off, trim any loose threads that I might have, and voila. So I've started attaching the rows, and I'm going to show you how I do this. This is what it should look like on the back. And I try my best to line up my seams by butting them up, but they don't always butt up. It's a little tough to do with this. I'll show you how I've done this. Mine are pretty, they're actually pretty good, as you can see. So anyway, I got lucky. So this is just the two rows put together, and we have 7 of them. So I'm going to show you how I do this. Let's just set this over here. So I take one of my pieces, so one of the ones where the gray piece starts, and then I also take another one, which is where the elephant starts it. And since the elephant is the one on this side, my main fabric is the one that starts starts at the top row and it ends on the very bottom row. Hope that made sense. So what I do is I take that, and then I'm going to put these wrong sides together. So I should have right sides facing me. So I put those 2 wrong sides together. And so I have one of the grays poking up and one of the elephants, okay? And then what I do is I just put a clip right here in the corner, okay? Now, I pin when I'm making rag quilts, so you don't have to, you can use clips, but I find that pinning is easiest for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to push this seam to this side and this seam to the opposite side, and I'm going to nest those 2 seams. Actually, it's the other way. The bottom side I'm going to push this way, and the top side I'm pushing the opposite. It just helps it to lay better. So then I'm going to take a pin, and I'm just going to stick it right through here, just like that. And I'm going to continue to do this all the way down. Again, pushing the bottom one to the right, and the top one to the left. And you can feel this. This seam is very, very thick. So you can actually feel the seam. So I just pin. It's hard to pin in video here. So I'll try to do it a little bit better. So to the left, or to the right, sorry, and then this one to the left. Butt it up, nest it, whatever you want to call it. I call it butting it up. The proper term is nesting. And then I put my pin in. And again, now we're at the very end of my row. So I'm going to do the same thing that I just did. And I'm going to pop a pin in here. Boom. And then I'm going to take a clip and I'm going to line up this edge just like we did at the very beginning. I'm going to line those up. I'm going to place a clip. Pull off any loose threads. And now I'm going to stitch 1/2 inch. And then I'm just going to sew. Just going to sew this down. And I'm not using my lead on this one. And yes, I am back stitching. You do not have to do that. I just prefer to do it because I feel like it holds it together better. I'm going to pull that pin out, and I'm just going to spread those there and stay consistent with how I'm sewing. And so I'm going to pull my pin. I'm going to pull my little fringes out of the way because I don't want that getting all yucked up. Continue sewing. And this is how you will continue attaching the rows for your rag quilt. It's very easy. It goes very quickly. And the hardest part is making sure that you're not putting your sides together wrong. So if you can remember that the wrong sides go together first, then you will be okay. Otherwise, you'll sew it backwards and you will have to tear it out with a seam ripper. And trust me, I've done that many times. So if it happens to you, don't worry. It has happened to all of us. Okay? So I'm just going to pull this apart and just make sure that everything looks good, that I didn't catch any of the extra little fringes in here when I sewed, because that can happen. And so far, so good. Looks pretty good. I always seem to do that. So then I have to clip them and pull them, and that's kind of a pain. But all right, so that's it. So now I'm going to finish this up and show you what it looks like. All right, so the rag quilt is complete, and that is how you do a rag quilt with cotton fabric and also flannel. So you can do it with cotton and minky, cotton flannel minky. You can do it with anything, really. So I'm going to show you what it looks like now, and I also want to show you what else I do with mine. So when you make a rag quilt, I've got a lot of loose threads here. When you make a rag quilt, you typically, after you're done, will go around and sew just a straight stitch around the edge, okay? And this just holds that fringe. It keeps it from moving and fringing and all that stuff on your edge. So I don't do a straight stitch. I do this little curved stitch around mine, and I really feel like it just gives it a little, I don't know, it just makes it look really cute, I think. So it's just my preference. That's what I do. This is what the little quilt looks like once it's finished. It's really not that small. Probably good crib size, maybe a little bigger. So this is what it looks like up close. Okay, and this is what it looks like on the back. Turned out really, this is so cute. It's so cute. I can't wait to make more of these. This one will be in my Etsy shop. So if you're interested in this one, it will be in there. What I'm going to do now, this is the unfinished product, is I'm going to go wash it. Now, when I wash my rag quilts, I wash them in just regular cold water, and then I just dry them on normal temperature in the dryer, okay? And they turn out fine. You want to make sure that you clean out the lint in your dryer. Oh, I've got a little lint. In your dryer, because it will clog it if you don't. And also it can clog your washer. So I'm just letting you know, these are things that can happen. My husband gets mad at me every time I make these because I stick them in the dryer and then we have to vacuum out the lint. Anyway, so do that, and then you will see how the ragging process takes place. So this is what it looks like when it's not ragged yet, when it hasn't been washed and dried and it gets all crumbly. Cotton and flannel are a little different in the way that they rag as opposed to just if you're just making straight flannel, okay? I actually like the way it looks. I think it looks really cool. So it gets really knotty because of the cotton fabric. And so I'm gonna wash this and then I will post pictures of it when it is done. And that is it for me today. Isn't this cute? So soft and snuggly. Little Dumbo on there. So if you'd like to follow me on social media, the links are down below in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, click that little bell, and you will get notified each and every time that I upload a new video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and feel free to share, because sharing is caring, and the more people who see this, the more great projects I can bring to you. I always appreciate everyone's support. If you are interested in purchasing the AccuQuilt Go Big Electric Cutter, links are down below in the description box to that. I am an affiliate. I will make a very small commission if you make a purchase through that link. And that is always greatly appreciated because I use all the money that I make from my affiliate accounts to put back into this channel. Keep on crafting. I hope you love this video because I loved making it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.